What's going on, YouTube? Do you like shocking your enemies until their eyeballs pop out of their heads? Watching them writhe in pain from getting hit with so much electric damage they can't even move? Well, if that's the case, Cowboy's here to bring you another awesome Borderlands 2 build. So today we're looking at the Mechromancer, and this is a hybrid build. I've dubbed it Shocking Discord. I like that name a lot. I'm going to copyright it too. But obviously one of the first things you'll notice is I don't have any of the trees maxed out. You might think, well, that's just not how you can play a game. And I'm here to show you that it is how you can play a game. Especially in the case of the Mechromancer, because one big thing about the Mechromancer is your trees are pretty different from the other classes. You have a lot more abilities going around, a lot more single point abilities, and a lot more variety. I mean, the three trees are very, very different, and when I was going over what kind of build I wanted to do, I tried out one build with each tree going all the way down. And in the end run, sharing is caring is a great ability, but I found that I was too reliant on Deathtrap in this build. If I ever slowed down and he disappeared, I was in some trouble. And on top of that, I didn't want to play a build that was based purely around my Deathtrap. Yeah, he's cool, but honestly, I think the pathing on him is a little bit goofy. I've seen him drop under levels, and I don't need that happening. I don't need to be fighting a boss or fighting a group of bandits and then Deathtrap just falls into the level. We can't have that. And Little Big Trouble, make it sparkle. In the same way, it's a really cool ability, but in the long run, if I want to play with all the elements at once, well, I'm going to play my Siren. You know, with the Mechromancer, you have a huge focus on electricity, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on electricity, and in that aspect, I didn't find Make It Sparkle as necessary. And finally, we had Ordered Chaos, which this was honestly just disappointing to me. I don't know if I just wasn't doing it right, but I mean, I was trying to melee people when I had, 200 or 300 stacks of Anarchy, and even then, the damage was just, it felt like it was lackluster. And let's be honest, I mean, in the long run, if you want to melee stuff to death all day, go play Zero. Because Zero and melee just goes together like a fat kid and cake. But, now that that's aside, let's jump into the build. So, starting with your Mechromancer, first thing you're going to do for this type of hybrid build is go down and grab More Pep. And nice thing about More Pep is obviously we get better elemental chances. And we're going here specifically for the electrocute chance. So as you can see, my class mod is going to boost it up by an extra 4 points, and this is going to put me up to an extra 36% chance to electrocute. Now, one thing I want to clear up is with elemental effects, there's basically two types of damage you're going to do. You're going to do fire damage, which causes burn. Shock damage causes electrocute. Corrosion will cause corrode, and then slag is just like its own ball of fun. So basically, you want to make sure that as you're going down your tree, you need to stay aware of what stuff's buffing. Is it going to be buffing electrocute damage or shock damage? Because shock damage is going to be the heavy burst that we're doing. Electrocute, on the other hand, is classified as all of our damage over time abilities. So when we're hitting someone with an electric weapon, whether or not they're going to start getting electrocuted, that's considered electrocute chance. But considering the two starter skills, between more chance to proc my electrocutions or resistance to the shock damage, well, I think it's an obvious winner here. I mean, unless you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot with a ton of electric damage, weapons and grenades and whatnot, you're not going to need Myelin. And we're not going to need the shield capacity because we're going to have blood-soaked shields over in Ordered Chaos. So the obvious winner here, More Pep, drop your 5 points, progress. Moving down our tree, Shock Storm is another obvious choice. Now, given it's going to be situational, when you do get this thing to proc, it is an awesome burst of damage. I mean, I've killed one bandit with this, and all 4 bandits around him have just dropped dead. So it's a really fun skill to have, especially while you're leveling up, as you're going through and you're fighting tons and tons of enemies. You finish off that one with a critical hit, and everybody just gets ruined by it. In terms of our other choices, we have the Stare and Strength of 5 Gorillas. This isn't a very heavy Deathtrap build. I honestly only pull them out when there's a ton of enemies and there's a potential I might get overrun. But because of that, we're gonna skip both of these. In the long run, I tried out a build where I gave Deathtrap the Stare and I gave him 1-2 boom, and ultimately I found that without going down Best Friends Forever, without getting Upshot Robot for 1 to keep him out, and then some of the other stuff to give him more survivability, it just wasn't all that beneficial to give him any of this other stuff. So we're gonna skip those. Move down to the third tier, and this is where things get interesting. So the first point we're going to want to put in is Shock and All, and this is an awesome skill. I mean, especially if you have a quick reloading weapon, like a Jacob shotgun. I know I have one. This is what I was playing the build with for a while until I, finished getting her all outfitted with legendaries. And what's awesome is you can see the magazine size on this thing is 2. When you apply the bonus from smaller, lighter, faster, that's going to drop down to 1. So basically, every time we shoot the gun, we're going to reload. And along with that, that's going to be our shotgun AUG is going to constantly be going off. So basically, every time we reload, not only are we going to be getting an Anarchy stack, but we're also going to be doing electrical damage. So anything that's around us just gets melted. And then, once you start getting your stacks up, you might not even need a shotgun like that. But regardless, every time you reload your gun, you're doing damage. That's awesome. And on top of that, you get a T-door gun, so then you got some AoE with your reload and a nice chunk directly at an enemy. It just works well together. But moving on to our other 2 skills, we have Electrical Burn and Evil Enchantress. So with Evil Enchantress, like I said, one of the things you have to look out for is, are we boosting shock or are we boosting electrocute? And right here, as you can see, this one specifically is going to boost the damage the status effects are going to do. So when we kill an enemy, our electric damage over time is going to do an extra 18% with this. And, it's nice, but in the long run, I felt that electrical burn was going to be more beneficial for my style of play than just buffing that shock damage slightly. And the main reason for this is when you look at electrical burn, we see, oh, well, they're going to get, hit with fire damage. But the big thing to keep in mind is that the amount of the burn damage is going to be based on the electric damage dealt. So with the 4 points from our class mob, we're looking at a 36% chance on this. And the other thing is it's based on the electrocute damage dealt. And remember, the electrocute is going to be the damage over time. So when you hit an enemy with a damage over time proc from electricity, you'll see all those blue numbers popping off of them. And you'll usually see that happen, sometimes 10 to 15, individual damage over time ticks will happen. So on each one of those individual ticks, we have that 36% chance to proc electric burn, which is what makes this skill so amazing. Because, one, the proc rate, even though it only says 36, well, if we have 10 ticks and there's basically a 1 in 3 chance of it proccing off any one of those ticks, that's pretty damn likely. And not only that, but because the amount of burn damage we're going to do is based on our shock damage, in effect, we're basically going to double the damage over time output on our target. Because let's say we're doing 10,000 shock damage per second, and this burn procs, it's going to be doing 10,000 burn damage per second. So because of that, I found that electrical burn was going to be better than just Evil Enchantress. Although Evil Enchantress is going to boost the damage that potential burn's going to do, I thought, well, I can give the burn, an extra, 6% damage with 2 more points, it would be an extra 12% damage. Or I could have electrical burn, which in a sense is going to double the potential damage it's doing. So, in the long run, think about it. What do you want? Do you want an extra 12% damage, or do you want to double the damage that you're doing? I think electrical burn's the clear winner here. So, anyway, just to progress down the tree, obviously we can drop 1 point here. We can, put 3 in there, 2 in there. At the end, we're going to obviously, get that one all the way filled up and finish up with our points in there. But you want to get your points distributed and progress down to wires don't talk. And this is really the bread and butter. Because right here, we get 30% shock and 30% electrocute damage. So now all the bursts that we're doing are going to be increased by 30%. And then on top of that, all that electrical damage is going to be increased by 30%. And the nice thing about this is that this is just straight static damage. Whereas Evil Enchantress is only going to proc on kills. This is just 30% full time. Awesome skill to have, especially with the focus on electricity. So, from there, we're going to move into the Ordered Chaos tree. Obviously, we're going to want to get a point into Anarchy. I mean, it's a great skill, especially when you utilize it right. We're going to have gun damage building up, and we're going to be losing accuracy, but no worries, we're going to be combating that. So, along with Anarchy, you're going to need to drop 4 points into Smaller, Lighter, Faster to progress down this tree. Gives us smaller magazine size, faster reload speed, and that's going to double benefit us here because 1, it's going to help us get stacks of Anarchy up faster, and 2, it's going to let our shock and AUG produce a lot more. So, moving down the tree, we have Pre-Shrunk Cyberpunk, Robot Rampage, and Blood-Soaked Shields. The obvious winner for me here is Blood-Soaked Shields. Because, I mean, how is this? This is just the most brokenly awesome ability, especially for doing farming or, the bandit arenas or just running around killing stuff. Every enemy you kill, you get 100% of your shield back. And what's the downside? We lose 5% of our current health. Well, skipping ahead a little bit, one, we're going to basically have Discord up full time in this build. So right there, 3% maximum health per second. And two, by grabbing Cooking Up Trouble over in Best Friends Forever, we get another 2% max health per second. So right there, that's 5% to counteract this. And considering we're going to be getting that 5% every second, well, every second as long as our gun is fully loaded, still, we're not going to be killing an enemy every second, so it ends up being more than enough health regen to counteract the negative of Blood-Soaked Shields. And there's actually a third benefit of this here. Because we get the 100% every time it restores, when you combo this with a Nova Shield, my personal choice was the Black Hole, it ends up becoming brutal. Because basically, you kill an enemy, your shield goes to full, they shoot it down, bam, Nova proc, massive damage, yanks everyone towards you. One of them usually dies, and your shield goes straight back up to full. Somebody knocks it down, happens again. It just gets, Baby Town frolics all day long. Awesome, awesome ability. In terms of our other ones, Robot Rampage, like I said, we're not worried about Deathtrap, waste of a point in my opinion, and Pre-Shrunk Cyberpunk. Now, the reason we're not going to pick this up is because this build isn't so much based around Anarchy as it is around utilizing Discord. So with Discord, basically, anytime we prematurely reload, instead of losing all of our stacks of Anarchy, we'll gain a fire rate bonus, an accuracy bonus, and the health regen. And the magic number here is going to be 37. At 37 stacks of Anarchy, your accuracy, the minus accuracy you're getting from Anarchy will just barely be in the negative. It'll be at like, I think, negative 0.5 or something. So if we have Discord up, when we hit 36 stacks of Anarchy with Discord, we're going to have our accuracy won't have any effect. It'll be slightly positive, actually. We'll have that fire rate increase. We'll still have the gun damage from Anarchy, and we'll have the health regen. So that's the magic number you want to aim for. You basically want to try and stay between, say, like 35 and 25, and that's going to give you a substantial damage increase from Anarchy, in addition to having Discord counteract Anarchy to boost your accuracy, and of course you get the fire rate and the regenerate. So one way to make sure our Anarchy is going to stay there, typeclassed, innoclassed, which we're not going to fill this all the way up. We're only going to put 4 points in to progress down into the tree, and that ends up being enough from what I've experienced. I mean, you basically have a 1 in 4 chance of getting an extra stack every time you get one, and you're getting one every time you kill an enemy or every time you reload, so in the long run it usually ends up being enough to counteract it. Last potential skill here, Annoyed Android. Like I said, we're not worried about Deathtrap, so there's no point in them. And going back real quick, as I mentioned, our magic number is 36. We want to try and stay right there, so there's no point in increasing our Anarchy cap, making Pre-Shrunk Cyberpunk useless. The final skill we're going to get in this tree is Rational Anarchist, and this is what's going to really get the ball rolling, because basically our first kill or our first reload while we're in combat, bam, instant 25 stacks of Anarchy, we can get Discord up, it puts us right in that sweet spot, and right there we can just start mowing down enemies. So, from here, we have 5 last points to distribute. I chose to put them into Cooking Up Trouble. And, I mean, you can really put these wherever you want. I found that, when I was running around and I wasn't killing stuff, I liked having that extra health regen, especially because, in general, I'll keep Discord up in battle, and then when battle ends, I'll knock Discord down depending on how many stacks I'm at. If I'm at, like, I don't know, 10 to 5 stacks, I'll let it run out so that Rational Anarchist can proc again and put me at 25. But if I'm sitting like right in that like real good area around 30 stacks of Anarchy, I'll want to turn that off. And obviously, I'm going to want some health regen. So in terms of that, Cooking Up Trouble came in handy there. If you feel you need more damage, you could drop these 5 points. You could distribute them otherwise. I would suggest probably putting 2 into Evil Anarchist. And then the last 2, I don't know. If you really want, 1-2 Boom is an awesome ability. So is the Stare, but like I said, obviously, I'm not all that worried about Deathtrap taking care of business, and in the long run, I found that extra health regen is going to help. Because, I mean, if your weapon's full and you have Discord up, it's 5% max health per second. And especially on some of these fights where you're taking a ton of damage, like you take a look at Hyperius, for example, if you don't have a Tortoise Shield, that dude hits like a truck. So having that health regen is going to be really helpful in the long run. But going into some of the more specifics of the build, obviously the gear is going to complement it. An elemental relic is going to be your best friend with this. And as for your class mod, I would suggest getting either a Zapper class mod or a catalyst. Now, between the two of these, they're both very good. Obviously, for solo play, I'm going to prefer the wired zapper. For team play, depending on who I'm playing with, if I'm playing with a bunch of, Gunzerkers and Commandos who aren't using elements, I'll probably end up just keeping on zapper, but obviously wired is going to give you, or the catalyst one will give you 40% to team elemental effect damage, but the main reason I chose the zapper is, think about it this way. All right, comparing these two, they both have wires don't talk. Catalyst is going to give us Shock Storm and Evil Enchantress, whereas Zapper is going to give us More Pep and Electrical Burn. Well, looking at our skills, we got Shock Storm, which is considered a kill skill with a critical, so situational. Evil Enchantress, another kill skill, situational. Okay? More Pep, on the other hand, full-time uptime. Electrical Burn puts us up to a 36% chance. And remember, this damage has a chance to proc on every single tick of electrical damage. So in the long run, I consider that to be more beneficial. And not only that, but if you look at it this way, let's say we have on the Catalyst class mod, all right, with the extra points we get from Evil Enchantress, we're at a 42% chance, or 42% elemental effect damage. Okay. And we have an extra 40% from right there. So in total with those two, that's what, 82% elemental effect damage, 42 of it coming up on a kill. On the other hand, with Wired Zapper, we're going to get electrocute damage, which is, what we're really focused on this build. So it's going to be 26%. So in the long run, if you want the damage over time, the Wired Catalyst is going to boost that more, but the nice thing about this is we're getting that 26% electrocute damage, and we're going to increase the chance to shock. And the shock is where our burst is really going to come from. So in here we have that burst damage going off from the shock. We have an extra chance to proc that. We have More Pep here, which is going to increase our execute chance outright. And then obviously we have extra points going to electrical burn. And like I said, that damage is going to be based on your shock damage. But regardless, they're both excellent class mods for this. Compared to the legendary one, which increases your cooldown rate, you can see this does a little bit of boost all over. Boost smaller, lighter, faster, which actually gets pretty tricky. For one, this mod makes it impossible to use an infinity pistol. Obviously, we have a nice jump to More Pep, but we already had that. It boosts 5 gorillas, boosts 20% cooler, and then cooking up trouble. But, if you're playing a Best Friends Forever build, the legendary mod is definitely the one for you. In terms of a hybrid build like this, not exactly what we're looking for. But obviously, moving on, like I said, Elemental Relic, 30% shock damage, no reason not to get it. And you got to look at it like this. So just right now, we have 30% shock from the Elemental Relic. Okay. We have 30% shock and electrocute damage from Wires Don't Talk. So right there, we have 60% increased shock damage going out. All right. Now, on top of that, we have the 30% electrical damage. We have another 18% electrical damage every time we get a kill. And we have electric burn, which is going to be proccing off that electrical damage. So in total, it basically just turns into a giant shocking shitfest where you just electrify everything's face off. But for the grenade, the two I was looking at here, obviously, if you haven't noticed already, everything I'm running is electricity. Between the Stormfront and the Quasar, I found that the Stormfront was better in the long run. The Quasar is nice, especially since it groups everything up for you, but I found that the Stormfront just gets brutal. Because, you put it out there, and you just get like a field of electricity that just ruins everything's shit. So that's why I chose the Stormfront. And for the shield choice, obviously the Grounded Black Hole, it just works beautifully with this build. Your shields are constantly going up from Blood-Soaked Shields, so you're getting that Nova damage all the time. It's got a huge Nova radius on it, huge Nova damage. It just works. In terms of weapon loadouts, obviously I'm running all legendaries, but Thunderball Fists is an amazing weapon to run in this build, and that's because when you shoot it, if you've seen the pistol video, basically we do electrical damage and it pulses, and then we get an electrical explosion, and that explosion is going to do tons of damage with all the boosts we have going to shock and electricity. For a shotgun, we found an electrical version of a Deliverance. This thing is just great. I mean, if you've seen my other videos, you know I got a hard on for the Deliverance. This shotgun, I just cannot give it enough love. It is so much fun. Moving on from there, got a proactive bitch. And the nice thing about this is even if your Anarchy gets really high, the ongoing accuracy of the bitch is usually enough to counteract it. So if you need to make that accurate shot, the bitch comes in to save the day. And then finally, an electric Norfleet. And this is our go-to weapon that when shit hits the fan, you chuck out, a shot from this. And if, you can't see usually you can just fire this thing up against a wall and somebody is going to die. So aside from that, some other choices. Obviously, if you have an electric conference call, keep the electric flowing. Texas scattergun, like I said, nice thing about the scattergun, we'll run up to some bandits real quick and you'll see is, but basically we get with one shot, we have a constant reload. You can see our shock and awe constantly proccing. So basically we can just like run up on top of stuff and we have this constant electricity proc happening. And it's not so much the damage of the gun, it's just the straight reload speed and our shock damage proccing off. So we can see there, I mean most of those shots probably didn't even hit people, but just the damage from the reloading was enough to just take care of business. And aside from that, two weapons that I recommend trying to get are if you can find a 50 bad touch and a 50 good touch, they're both awesome to have. And the big thing that everyone should be aware about with all the Miss Moxie's guns, and this also applies to her shotgun and the Ruby pistol, is that the Moxie guns have basically a hidden effect that while you have them equipped, any elemental damage you do will also be converted to health. So along with already having, cooking up trouble and then the health regen that we got over in Discord, if we have a Moxie gun out on top of that, all that shock damage is coming back to us as health. So if you're ever in a fight where, stuff's getting a little bit tricky and you're like, man, my health is going down, toss on one of those. Obviously, we got to fire one in case we're fighting a ton of humans, like having a corrosive one if we're fighting a ton of Hyperion. In terms of other relics, there's no other real choice. Obviously, I got, just a couple random ones. This is just for occasional baby maker shenanigans. And then your Vault Hunters and Blood of the Seraphs is also a pretty cool one for the health regen. But anyway, in terms of gear and build, this is what I would suggest. And as with all of my videos, let's go take out some bandits. So obviously you can see we're already up to 46 stacks of Discord just from killing like 3 bandits and a couple reloads. Or 46 stacks of Anarchy, excuse me. But let's proc that up to Discord. And now it's time to go ruin some lives. There we go. Looks like all the bandits woke up to come play. Where are they at? Where are these guys? They're all hiding from me. I mean, I can't blame them. I wouldn't want to get electrocuted to death. So you can see the procs from Thunderball Fists going off. Just taking care of just tons of work. And I mean, it really is, it's a fun build, especially for just running around and killing stuff. I mean, you can see we have our health regen staying up. So that's keeping our health up. Every time an enemy dies, our shield's going back up to full. And we're right in that sweet spot where Discord is giving us that extra bonus. Obviously, when we lose it, we'll get 25, pop one shot, reload, and we're right back to our stacks of Discord. Where you going, Raider? So, oh, and we go down, and we're right back up. And that's one of the great things about Black Hole is you are never down for a very long time when using Black Hole. Obviously, I mean, you can do this with any electrical weapons. I love the effects on these legendaries. As you can see, Deliverance just taking care of business as always. Who is this? You can see these, I mean, just some of this electrical damage you can see going off. Like, let's try and get a tick on a blaster if he doesn't. Look at that. We got a 2,000 damage per second dot ticking on him, and the fire one's up on him too now. I mean, this guy's like resistant to shock, and he's just getting wrecked by it anyway. And then obviously, of course, we got the good old bitch. Where does this guy think he's going? Where does this scavenger think he's going? Oh, there goes the... Alright, and here's our... Oh, shit. Let's say we're down. See, look at that. Like, we didn't even have time to shoot off our gun before the black hole was just like, oh, you fell down? Let me get you back up. Hang on, see if I wonder if it'll kill this Goliath. Oh, well, if he doesn't, we will. Reload, and he's dead. Oh no, we're down. Get him, black hole. God, I love that shield. Especially with all the boosts we're getting to electric. It just gets awesome. No. Get our Discord up. You can see right now we got Discord going and the full ammo. You can see how fast that health regen is going out. You know, if things start to get out of hand, you can go on, call out Deathtrap. He'll serve as a nice little, nice target to keep stuff busy while you go to town on it. And then, of course, you can't beat the Norfleet. When it comes to killing stuff, Norfleet always gets the job done. So, badass Goliath, and see what happens to him. Oh yeah, he just got completely wrecked. And obviously, if you really want to get abusive, just shoot, reload, and you got this constant electrical procs going off. I mean, if you like electric damage, this is definitely the build for you. I only wish there were like more electrical. But I mean, given electrical is meant to take out shields, I want to fight like, I don't know, anyone who remembers Borderlands 1 remembers the Iridian guys that you used to be able to pretty much one-shot while you were using Mordecai, because you had that ability that went through shields. And they had no health, just a ton of shields. Man, tell you what, I would love to fight some of those guys with this build, because it would just get absolutely disgusting. Just walk around, everything would die. I can't. Oh god, I love Black Hole. It's like you go down and you're straight back up. Bad guy's a problem? Bring out a Norfleet. As you can see, it just completely wrecks everything's face. Huh. Well, that's about it for the majority of these bandits. But anyway, guys, that's all there is to it. You know, like I said, Mechromancer is a really fun class, and there's a lot of flexibility in the build choice. So if you enjoy the Siren and you can't get enough of that electrical style gameplay, you know, the Mechromancer is a nice alternative. But anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time we do a video.